what on earth is going on for a young human being? And remember, this is not an experiment that only got done once. This is an experiment that occurred tens of thousands, possibly 100,000, hundreds of thousands of times over a 30-year span. So we've been watching this. We know that this is human experience. 50 seconds and the child is reduced to essentially a sobbing mess, just because she's not able to get feedback that she's connected to her mom. This didn't start when she was 1 year old. This started when she was 0 years old, when she came out of the womb and had her first experience of not being able to get her parents' attention when she was crying, or getting a parent's attention but they're not able to help her, to give her the things that she needs. And at that point, she doesn't have the words to articulate what it is that's going on inside her body, inside her emotional experience of disconnection, abandonment, fear. So we never hear about the experiences that the people around us have had around this kind of abandonment, around this kind of disconnection that happens when a parent's unavailable for 50 seconds. Now, can you imagine what happens when that parent's not available for 5 minutes and the baby's crying and the mom has to do something with another sibling, or had to go to the washroom, or maybe 5 hours when the parents got upset because the baby was crying so much and they didn't know what to do, so they put her in another room or put him in another room and said the baby will cry it out. Now, I'm not judging parents over here, because I did that to my own child, and I'm pretty sure that there's no human being alive today who hasn't had some experience of this. But what happened within that is that our body went through all of the traumatic experience of what it's like to not be able to get that person who's responsible for helping us to regulate our emotions and feed us and take care of us and do everything that we need to survive at that age. When we can't reach out to them, it feels as if we're going to die. And we can't remember that because we were pre-verbal. But our body remembers that and our cells remember that. And what it does is it impacts the way that we live our lives at an unconscious level, because we never want to experience that traumatic experience again. So everything that we're doing, and on the surface, on the conscious level, sits above a layer of anxiety, a layer of terror that we're going to be faced with that same experience again. And it shapes our behavior. It shapes the things that we get pulled towards. It shapes our need for a loving partner, our need for validation from outside of ourselves, our feeling of security. And all of those things are sources of stress. And the moment that stress exists, we become vulnerable to illness and disease and to influence of people who want to take advantage of us. All kinds of things that make our life less secure. If we could go back and heal that disconnective wound that people are carrying, so that they no longer need to feel that underlying stress and anxiety, then so many of the things that we consider to be problems in our society would simply vanish. And that's all that it really takes. So remember, I used the word love. When the little child was feeling connected to her mom, she felt loved. She felt secure. She felt embraced. She didn't have to worry. There was no stress. The moment that the mom broke that connection, she couldn't feel loved anymore. The love may have been there. Her mom may have been loving her just the same amount, but the difference is in the perception from the perspective of that little girl, that she doesn't feel connected. She doesn't feel loved. She doesn't feel safe. I envision a world where we have taken care of these challenges, where we have healed this, and where people like yourself study the coursework that I've created in this course and in the more advanced courses that I offer, and that we create a ripple effect that has the impact of reducing the stresses in society to such a degree that this ripples out, and everybody who finds out about it wants to take away that stress from their life. And what we start to see happening is hospitals getting smaller, doctors doing things other than treating people because there's less demand on them, because the stresses that cause disease, the stresses that make us vulnerable to a lack of health, have begun to disappear from our society. And the same is true for our prison systems and our police, that they're off playing golf or doing something other than enforcing the law because there's no more desire, there's no more need that people feel to break the law and to do things that are illegal, because underlying that, and we'll see this through the course, is a subconscious need for connection. Now, you may have wondered why you've reached the age that you have, and no one thought to mention that this dynamic exists. As I said, this is a video that we've watched that was made based on a theory that was developed over 30 years ago. So it's nothing new. How come no one thought to mention that this dynamic exists? And the reason for that is because it's invisible to the human eye under normal circumstances. And there's a reason for that. As soon as we go too close to a part of our psyche whose job it is to protect us from rejecting ourselves, from causing alienation or disconnection from ourselves, our psyche acts like an electrified fence, and it shocks us out of the way in order to prevent us from going any deeper into an exploration of what might be going on. Because there are layers of things that human beings, every single human being has done that they feel ashamed about, that they did in pursuit of connection. It may have been something to do with the promiscuity of their sexuality, or being manipulative, or something in order to try and get that love that they feel so bad about that their psyche is protecting them from going into that, so in which case the only person who hasn't rejected them, being themselves, might reject them. So an incredible psychological phenomenon that is almost unknown in the worlds of psychology and healing today. I was so fortunate, after 20 years of being in that world as a client and barely seeing any changes in what was going on in my life, to meet a teacher who I didn't know it at the time because I wasn't even aware that that fence existed. Though I have to say that I kept moving towards a fence, and I kept feeling that shock that comes when you touch an electrified fence and being thrown back, and that frustration of not being able to go and get to the place I wanted to go. My teacher had a way of getting over to the other side of the fence. And thankfully, over a period of really long time, he taught me how to do that. It was painful and it took a long time. So it's now 7 years since I had that experience of first going toward the fence and eventually getting over it. And what I've done is I've taken what I learned from my teacher and I've shifted it into a system that makes the journey much shorter and much less painful. And I'm trying to assist you, if you're interested, in getting over that fence, so that the next time you come to it and you think that you're going to get shocked by the electric forces of it, that won't happen. And this is the first step that you're taking, either on your own behalf or on behalf of people you work with or people that you care with, or people that you care about. So that's what this course is about. It's a stepping stone to some of the more advanced pieces that need to come as well. And I'm grateful to have you here. So thank you for joining me. Again, I'm Philip the Air, and we're on a journey into the unconscious mind.